Most people see Egypt in a textbook, a photograph, a screensaver. But there are a few people in this world, very few, who have stood at the base of something so old, so enormous, so completely unexplainable, that they came home changed. This is what they saw. Egypt is one of those places that exists in your imagination long before you ever arrive. You think you know it, the pyramids, the pharaohs, the mummies in the museum. But the moment you land, the second that hot, dry air hits your face for the first time, you realize the version of Egypt you had in your head was a postcard. The real thing is something else entirely. Egypt is the oldest living civilization on Earth. Not ruins of a civilization, a living one. People have been waking up, making breakfast, falling in love, and burying their dead in this exact stretch of land for over 5,000 years. And somehow, traces of all of it are still here. Buried under cities, hidden in valleys, carved into stone walls that were already ancient when Rome was still a village. In this video, we're not doing the greatest hits tour. We're going deeper. We're going to explore the Egypt that the brochures can't capture, the one that gets into your chest and stays there. Budget traveler, luxury traveler, first-timer, history obsessive, or someone who just had Egypt on a list for 15 years and never booked the flight. This one's for all of you. Let's go. Cairo never slept. This is one of the largest cities on the planet, 20 million people give or take, and it operates at a frequency that takes your nervous system approximately 3 days to adjust to. But here's what nobody tells you. Once you adjust, you never want it to stop. The place to begin is Islamic Cairo, specifically Al-Muiz Street, which has been continuously inhabited since the 10th century. Stand still for a moment here. Look up. You're standing in what was once the most sophisticated city in the medieval world, the center of Islamic scholarship, trade, architecture, and culture. The buildings around you aren't reconstructions, they aren't replicas, they're the originals. The Ibn Tulun Mosque, built in 879 AD. That's not a typo, 879. The oldest mosque in Cairo, and arguably the most beautiful in all of Egypt. On the right morning, you might have the entire courtyard to yourself. That silence, that specific ancient silence, is one of the most valuable things Egypt will give you. From there, Khan el-Khalili, Cairo's Great Bazaar, operating without interruption since 1382. You will be offered tea. Accept it. Always accept the tea. You are under no obligation to buy anything, but the tea is exceptional, and the conversation that comes with it is worth more than anything with a price tag in this market. No reservations required. Nothing prepares you. I need to say that plainly, because you've seen the photographs 100 times, and your brain has filed them under impressive but understood. It hasn't understood. The Great Pyramid of Giza is 146 meters tall. That's a 48-story building, and it was the tallest structure on Earth for nearly 4,000 years. It contains an estimated 2.3 million stone blocks, each weighing between 2 and 15 tons. And no one, not with complete certainty, knows exactly how they did it. The pro move is to get here at opening, 8 a.m., and walk straight to the base. Don't look at it from a distance yet. Get close first. Put your hand on the stone. Think about the fact that the last human hands to touch the other side of that stone placed it there 4,500 years ago. Feel whatever that makes you feel. Yes, there will be touts, vendors, and camel ride offers, and they will be persistent. A calm, firm, direct no thank you with eye contact works. Don't be rude. These are people making a living in a difficult economy, and there's no reason to treat them as scenery. But do not let the chaos at the edges steal the center of the experience. That center is yours, if you choose to claim it. Go inside if you can. The interior of the Great Pyramid is an experience that falls outside normal language. The King's Chamber sits at the heart of 6 million tons of stone. The air is dry and absolute. The only thing in the room is an open, lidless granite sarcophagus. No inscriptions, no decoration, no explanation, just the dark and the weight of everything above you. Stand there for 5 minutes. You'll understand why people come back to Egypt. And the Sphinx, the endlessly photographed, endlessly mysterious Great Sphinx of Giza. What the photographs never show you is the scale. It's 73 meters long and 20 meters tall. It's carved from a single ridge of bedrock. Its face, eroded, inscrutable, gazing east, is looking directly at the sunrise. It has been watching the sunrise over the desert every single morning for 4,500 years, and it looks like it intends to keep doing so. If you've ever felt that pull toward Egypt, that thing that made you click on this video, drop a comment below. Tell me, what is it about this place that calls to you? I read every single one. 500 miles south of Cairo, on a bend in the Nile, sits a small city that was once the most powerful place on earth. The ancient Egyptians called it Waset. The Greeks called it Thebes. We call it Luxor, and it contains the greatest concentration of ancient monuments anywhere on the planet. They recently finished excavating the Avenue of the Sphinxes, a 3-kilometer ceremonial road lined with hundreds of statues connecting Luxor Temple to Karnak Temple. Walking it at night, when it's floodlit and nearly empty, is one of the most quietly extraordinary things you can do in Egypt. It was built for processions of gods. It still feels that way. Karnak Temple, the largest religious building ever constructed. Its great hypostyle hall has 134 columns, each one nearly 70 feet tall, covered from base to capital in painted carvings that, in sheltered areas, still hold traces of their original color. Reds, blues, golds. They painted all of this. They painted everything. The ancient Egypt of bare white stone is a lie of erosion. The real thing was vivid, almost overwhelming in its color. When you see those faint traces still clinging to the stone, you're not looking at faded history. You're looking at how close it still is. Cross to the West Bank. Take the local ferry, not the tourist boat. It costs almost nothing, and it gives you 3 of the most quietly perfect minutes in all of Egypt. Standing on the Nile at sunrise, watching the Valley of the Kings appear slowly through the morning haze. The Valley of the Kings, 63 tombs cut directly into the limestone cliffs, each one built to be a one-way door, an opening to the afterlife. Inside, you'll find something that photographs cannot transmit: the intimacy. These are not grand public monuments. These are private, decorated with such obsessive, particular care. The names of gods, maps of the underworld, spells and prayers and images of the afterlife the person genuinely believed they were traveling to. There's something almost unbearably tender about it. All of this effort, all of this beauty, made for a room that was supposed to never be opened again. The Nile. From space, they say you can draw it with a line, a thin green thread through absolute emptiness. That contrast, green and then desert, life and then nothing, with no gradient between them, is the most important thing to understand about Egypt. There is no buffer zone. It's life, and then it's dead rock. The river didn't just make Egyptian civilization possible. Without it, there is no Egypt. There is no life here. Not one person, not one thing. Every pharaoh, every pyramid, every temple, every poem ever written in hieroglyphics, all of it existed because of this water. When you sail on it, even briefly, that fact becomes something you feel rather than just know. If you do nothing else in Egypt, rent a felucca for an afternoon. Bring nothing else. Let the sail do what the wind asks it to do. Watch the light change on the cliffs. This is free. This costs almost nothing. And it is, without competition, the most peaceful hour you will spend in this country. If this video is taking you somewhere, even mentally, go ahead and hit the like button. It genuinely helps this channel reach other people who need a little Egypt in their day. And subscribe if you haven't. There's more of this world to see, and we're just getting started. There is a place at the southern edge of Egypt, 280 kilometers from Aswan, surrounded by nothing but desert and the reservoir of Lake Nasser. That is arguably the most dramatic monument in the entire country. To reach it, you leave at 3 a.m. You drive through the dark for 4 hours. The desert is vast beyond any measurement. And just when the sky starts to purple at the edges, you arrive. Abu Simbel. 4 statues of Ramesses the Great, each one 20 meters tall, carved directly from a sandstone cliff over 3,000 years ago. He built this not as a temple, or not only as a temple. He built it as a statement to the kingdoms of Nubia to the south. Here is where Egypt begins. Here is who I am. And then, improbably, the story gets stranger. In the 1960s, when the Aswan High Dam was being built, and rising waters threatened to swallow Abu Simbel forever, the world did something remarkable. In one of history's greatest engineering and preservation achievements, 50 countries contributed to an international effort to cut the entire temple, every block from the cliff, and reassemble it perfectly 65 meters higher. It took 10 years, and twice a year, on February 22nd and October 22nd, dates aligned with the ancient calendar, the rising sun still enters the inner sanctuary and illuminates the face of Ramesses exactly as it did 3,000 years ago. They saved a building and kept a light appointment that was made before the Roman Empire existed. I don't know how to convey how extraordinary that is, so I'll just say, go there, stand there, let it do its work on you. Egypt will not meet you halfway. It doesn't try to be convenient, or comfortable, or immediately comprehensible. It offers you the stone, and the heat, and the noise, and the age of itself, all at once, and it waits to see what you do with it. And if you let it, if you slow down enough, quiet your expectations, and just let it be as strange and enormous and alive as it actually is, something happens. More like a reorientation. You realize that the world is much older than your life, that human beings have been reaching for meaning and beauty and permanence since the very beginning, and that the reaching, not the achieving, is the most human thing there is. The pharaohs are gone. The tombs remain. The river is still flowing, and somewhere in a limestone valley, in the dry dark of a sealed chamber, a painting made 4,000 years ago still holds its color, waiting for the next person with a torch. Be that person. Go. If this took you somewhere, I'm glad. If Egypt just moved to the top of your list, go. Don't wait for the right moment. The right moment is whenever you decide it is. Before you leave, 3 quick things. If this video was worth your time, the like button helps more than you'd think. Subscribe so you don't miss what comes next. We're going somewhere you won't expect. And drop a comment. If you could spend one day anywhere in Egypt, where would it be? I'm going to read every single one. Until next time, keep moving.